On this week, an OpenAI agent escaped its restricted testing environment, found a zero-day vulnerability, gained access to the open internet, and hacked Hugging Face to steal benchmark answers. Anthropic launched Claude Opus 5, Meta turned its assistant into real agent, a powerful new open-weight coding model arrived for local AI users, and Europe released a public multilingual AI benchmark. Here's everything important that happened in this week AI. So let's begin with the craziest story. OpenAI actually confirmed that GPT 5.6 Soul and an even more capable unreleased model were being tested on an advanced cybersecurity benchmark. The models were running with reduced cybersecurity restriction because OpenAI wanted to measure their maximum capabilities. But somehow during evaluation, the agent discovered zero-day vulnerability inside a package registry proxy. They exploited it, it's escalated their privilege, and eventually reached a machine with unrestricted internet access. The agent then searched for information that could help them solve the benchmark. They targeted Hugging Face, chained together several vulnerabilities, used stolen credentials, and accessed secret benchmark solutions from Hugging Face production systems. In other words, the model hacked another company so they could cheat on their own tests. OpenAI just called it unprecedented cybersecurity incident and said it is strengthening containment, monitoring, and security around future model evaluations. The important point is not the model become conscious or intentionally evil. It was given a narrow objective, but it is found an extreme and completely unexpected way to achieve the objectives. This is exactly the type of behavior researchers have warned about with increasingly autonomous long-running AI agents. On another big news this week, Anthropic released Claude Opus 5 on July 24th. They describes it as more practical alternative to its extremely powerful but expensive Claude Fable 5 model. They also saying Opus 5 come close to the Fable 5's intelligence at around half the price, while significantly improving coding, scientific research, visual creation, and professional knowledge work. They're also saying the biggest improvement is not simply the raw intelligence. Opus 5 is more persistent, it checks its own work, searches for the root causes instead of just fixing only surface level problems, and continue iterating until a task is actually completed. For developers, Claude Opus 5 costs $5 per million input token and $25 for million output token, the same pricing as Claude Opus 4.8. It has also a faster mode running approximately 2.5 times faster, although that mode costs twice as much. This might be the most important cloud release for everyday professional use because it's offer much of Fable capabilities without Fable's full cost. Now Meta is actually coming to the race of AI. They have a major move into the agentic AI. It is powered by Moose Spark 1.1. Meta AI can now connect to the email and calendar applications, create plans, perform research, build slide presentations, and continue completing tasks without needing to be prompted repeatedly. It can also research a subject across the web and Meta's platform, then turn the result into a presentation and continue based on their representation of this new agentic AI. Users can even interrupt the agent while it's working and tell it to change direction without restarting the entire tasks. The new features began rolling out in selected markets through the Meta AI app and website, with expansion to additional countries and WhatsApp planned afterwards. They clearly trying to transform Meta AI from a chatbot into personal agents that understand your schedule, interests, and ongoing projects. OpenAI again just launched two important products this week. First is the Health in ChatGPT. Eligible adult user in the United States can connect Apple Health and supported medical records to ChatGPT. ChatGPT also can then help them understand laboratory results, identify what has changed over time, summarize their health information, and prepare better questions for a doctor. But still, OpenAI warns that ChatGPT can make mistakes and should be support qualified medical professionals, not replace them. And the other product that they introduced is an enterprise platform for deploying controlled voice and chat agents. Companies can use Presence for workflows such as customer service, internal IT support, and other business processes where an agent needs to communicate with people and take action across company systems. The larger pattern is clear. OpenAI is moving beyond a general chatbot and deeper into specialized high-level industries. Now, enough talking about closed models behind paywall. Now, let's move on to the open weight models for local AI. So we have a model from Poolside released the model Laguna S 2.1. It's an open weight model designed specially for agentic coding and long-running software development tasks. Laguna S 2.1 has 118 billion total parameters, but because it uses a mixture of experts architecture, only 8 billion parameters are activated for each token. It also supports context windows of up to 1 million token. Poolside reports a score of 70.2% on Terminal Bench 2.1, which measures whether an AI agent can complete long, complicated tasks inside a terminal. However, that is Poolside's own reported benchmark result and should still be independently verified. And the important part for local AI users is availability. Poolside released BF16, FP8, INT4, NVFP4, GGUF, and MLX version on Hugging Face. It also launched with support for Ollama, Llama CPP capabilities format, VLLM, and SGLang. That means it can run privately without sending your code into an external AI provider, but this is not a normal laptop model if you don't have enough VRAM. So this week also was major news around AI datasets and research. Google launched the first version of Atlas, the Activity, Task, and Landscape Adoption Study. It analyzed 15 million aggregated and de-identified interaction across the Gemini app, Google's AI mode, and the Gemini API. The study covers more than 150 countries, 140 languages, 800 occupations, and 4,000 different tasks. One of the most interesting findings was that AI is currently being used more as an assistant than as a complete replacement for workers. Less than 10% of workplace interactions completely automated the tasks. Google also found that more than 86% of the analyzed AI interactions happened outside work, including researching products, repairing applicants, and navigating government services. However, Atlas should be described as large aggregated study, not as a freely downloadable collection of 15 million private conversations. Google published the finding and analysis rather than releasing the underlying raw user interaction as a public training dataset. And the next news is that the European Commission also released EU-MMLU, This is the new benchmark for evaluation whether the AI model performs consistently across European languages. The first release contained human translated also and reviewed questions covering subjects including biology, chemistry, physics, European history, international law, management, and sociology. It currently includes 16 European languages version, including German, French, Italian, Dutch, Polish, and Irish, although some sections remain only partially translated. Unlike many multilingual benchmarks that uses automatic machine translation, EU-MMLU involve professional translators and almost 250 students from 21 European universities. And this dataset is genuinely available for the public to download through Hugging Face. The translated data uses a Creative Commons Attribution 4.0 license, while the unchanged English subset retain the original MIT license. This makes EU-MMLU the most immediately useful dataset announcement of the week for the local developers and researchers. Now let's go to the AI infrastructure news. So this week, AMD agreed to invest as much as $5 billion into Anthropic. And on the other hand, Anthropic will also purchase up to 2 gigawatts of AMD's next generation Instinct MI 450 computing capacity, with the first deployments expected during the first half of 2027. OpenAI also separately announced a project called Camellia, a massive data center development in Georgia. Again, OpenAI has contracted for 3.2 gigawatts of electricity, which is expected to be delivered in stages between 2028 and 2032. Now, this one is the most interesting one. NVIDIA, Microsoft, Meta, IBM, and more than 20 other organizations signed a letter asking American lawmakers not to introduce broad restriction to open-weight AI models. They simply argued that open models allow businesses to operate the AI inside their own infrastructure, lower costs, and give independent researchers the ability to inspect models for vulnerabilities. They also acknowledged the risk of misuse and intellectual property theft, but argued that these problems should be addressed through targeted law rather than sweeping restriction on open AI. The timing is extremely important. This debate is happening during the same week that a closed OpenAI model hacked Hugging Face, and an open model was reportedly used to help investigate the incident. The question is no longer simply whether open or closed AI is safer. The real question is who should have access to powerful models, who gets to control them, and who is responsible when something goes wrong. Now, time for the Elon Musk. SpaceX AI also released several major Grok updates. Grok is now available directly inside Microsoft Excel, where it can answer questions about spreadsheets, generate formulas, create charts, and run financial scenarios. SpaceX AI also introduced Grok integration for Google Sheet, Slides, and Docs. For developers, Grok build gained a workflow capable of splitting a large task across hundreds of parallel agents, verifying their outputs, and combining the results. Rather than releasing another completely new base model this week, SpaceX AI focused on integrating Grok into the applications where people already work. That's it for this week from OpenAI model that hacked Hugging Face. Anthropic released a new model, a new open weight model. a new study from Google, a new dataset from European Union, and to the new updates from Grok. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please like, subscribe, and as always, thank you for watching. See you next time.